The outpost doesn't so much loom as sulk. It has the architecture of a failed vending machine propped against a crater, all peeled paint and apologetic signage from a department that no longer exists. The moon itself is ash grey and unbothered by weather because weather gave up here eons ago. Footsteps don't echo so much as apologise under the dust. There is the sound of nothing and the taste of unplugged refrigerator in the air, that peculiar metallic flatness reserved for places where even the ghosts have been furloughed. According to subsection 7.2, wait, is this illegal? Comes out in a chirp because enthusiasm sneaks up, even on panic, and then a frantic rustle of pages follows as a sacred manual is consulted like it's a talisman. A very tired voice replies, "That sounds like future Zarg's problem," while unhelpfully poking the sliding door with a multi-tool until the multi-tool gives up too. J.I.M-BOT drifts at shoulder height with the aloofness of an appliance at a museum, murmuring, "Diagnostic complete, you're all idiots," which at least implies the presence of a diagnosis. The door surrenders, and the dark swallows their lights with the offended grace of a black velvet curtain. It is instantly colder, in a way that isn't temperature so much as an absence of being plugged in. Consoles are skeletal and lined with dust like powdered regret. Coffee cups, fossilised mid-sip, sit beside terminal screens that have forgotten what screens are. "This is fine. This is protocol. This is very not fine," flutters out as the emergency lantern fades to a sulky ember despite being fully charged 30 seconds ago. J.I.M-BOT offers, "I have 14 ways to solve this. You chose none." At the exact moment, a spare battery goes from full to antique. Somewhere in the dead air, there is an intake of nothing that somehow sounds like a sigh. The last glow dies, and in the thick dark, inside the space where a heartbeat should be, something brushes the edges of their minds and whispers, not in words, but in the idea of words. A single, unambiguous message. Hungry. Hungry is not the word you want in a place that looks like the galaxy's unplugged basement. The anxious rustling of pages accelerates into a full-blown paper cyclone. Friend or felon protocol comes out like a prayer, and then, more desperately, according to subsection O-stars 7.2, entities that alter environmental energy states must be addressed gently, clearly, and with snacks. The last word hangs in air like bait. The tired voice replies, "We didn't pack snacks. We packed a citation printer and a coffee that expired during the reign of the Moss Emperors." A thermos lid clicks anyway. The coffee inside is a bitter fossil that remembers being warm. There's the sound of a drone bumping into a wall with affronted dignity, and J.I.M-BOT declares, "Would you like me to notify Galactic HR again?" Another flashlight dies in the same instant it's switched on. The manual reader gulps. "Is this illegal? Is the dark illegal because it feels illegal?" The reply comes dry as low humidity. "Paperwork's for planets that still exist. They take one careful step deeper. The air tastes like unplugged hospital. Every electrical thought seems to hesitate before becoming a thought. The anxious one says, okay, we test. We do a test. Hello, potential life form, are you friend?" The question floats into the dark, sincere, slightly squeaky. The answer is an impossible cold brushing their cheeks and the emergency lantern dimming one more shade toward apology. J.I.M-BOT supplies, "That is a provisional maybe." Second question, the anxious voice follows the cadence of the manual like a rope over a ravine. "Are you hurt?" The dark leans in. Every battery on their belts coughs and goes middle-aged. Knees wobble. A third of a life's pep drains off like steam. The tired voice catches the intern by the elbow. "It's not hurt. It's hungry." The third question arrives louder than intended. "Are you going to eat us?" The dark pauses with surprising politeness, like a stranger backing away from the last piece of cake. Instead, the cold brushes the thermos lid. The coffee slumps into despair. "If it was important, it wouldn't be on fire." The monotone notes, then adds, or in this case, evaporating. The empty thermos clinks. New plan, the tired voice continues. Voice steady in the way of someone who has lived through 3 budget cuts and a small war with a karaoke syndicate. We give it something it wants more than us, and we make that thing not us. J.I.M-BOT hums a doubtful aria. I have 14 ways to solve this. You chose the picnic. The intern's fingers fumble a little case from a pouch labelled evidence glitter, because of course that exists. The manual says throw this at invisible things to reveal contour. The handful arcs through the dark and, impossibly, the glitter refuses to stick to anything except a softness of absence falling in a halo around a shape that is not a shape, a hollow where a thing is subtracting the world. The outline shivers as the glitter loses its will to sparkle. Okay, the tired voice murmurs. That's new, and I don't remember doing it, but I probably did. The manual flutters again. Subsection 12.1 recommends establishing communication via rhythmic vibration. J.I.M-BOT rolls closer, lights dimmed out of self-preservation, and taps an arrhythmic pattern on the metal wall. The cold leans, curious. A return tap is felt rather than heard. A gulping little tug on the lights. Hello? J.I.M-BOT translates in the prim confidence of something that once took a seminar. It says, need more, cold hunger, alone. Also, it thinks your hair is decorative. The moustache lifts 1 fraction of a millimetre in what counts as alarm. It drains not just electricity, the intern says, breath coming quick and frosty. It's sipping bioelectric potential. And morale? Oh no, no. I am 1 mistake away from a nervous blobdown. Knees wobble. The dark tilts toward that wobble like moss toward a leak. The tired voice is suddenly near, steady as a paperweight. Hey, breathe, look bored. The intern tries. It's not convincing. The dark loses interest in the bored one almost immediately and swoons back toward the panic like a moth toward overtime pay. So it likes, the monotone starts. Feelings, the intern blurts, and when batteries, and also possibly coffee, we can lure it. The plan, such as it is, begins with the sacrifice of every auxiliary power cell into a little breadcrumb trail out the way they came. Each cell shrivels as if drained by old age in fast forward, and the outline of absence drifts after them with the docile menace of a jellyfish. Outside, the moonlight is a pale rumour. The ship sits on the regolith like a guilty toaster. A slow dread tightens that thing in the chest that keeps one enthusiastically alive. If it touches the reactor, the intern whispers, it could, like... The tired voice fills in, turn us into a cautionary training video. J.I.M-BOT has the grace not to say, again. The outpost schematics, the intern remembers, grabbing at knowledge like a lifeline. There's a decommissioned reactor graveyard down valley, piles of inert cores and cracked warp coils. It's the worst buffet, but it's a buffet. The monotone nods toward the horizon. That sounds like future Zarg's problem. Unfortunately, we're future us. They begin the slowest parade in history. A handful of tired power packs, a scarf of LED rope lights that dim with every cough of the entity's curiosity, and a tempo of tapping on metal from J.I.M-BOT like a breadcrumb song. The invisible presence follows, brushing their nerves with polite desperation, lingering on the intern's rushing heartbeat before being bribed forward by the next dimming pack. At the ridge, the graveyard hunkers in a splay of crated cylinders and warning signs, all safety orange and pointless in a place that has run out of consequences. The gate is chained in bureaucratic steel. Protocol for locked facilities is to request authorization from Central. The intern recites automatically, then winces as the entity leans close again, tasting that stress like nectar. Or, the tired voice says, already fishing for a lock override wedge, we ask forgiveness from a department that doesn't return calls. J.I.M-BOT sighs in 6 tones of disappointment and a 7th of anticipation. I have 14 ways to solve this. You chose the crowbar. The crowbar wins. The gate swings open into a canyon of dead power, and the invisible thing surges forward like a child smelling cake. The graveyard smells like hot dust and quiet regret. Rows of spent reactor cores tilt in their cradles like eggs that never hatched. Everything that could hum doesn't. The invisible thing hums anyway. A negative hum that makes teeth ache. A sound made from the absence of sound. It drifts from core to core, tasting, recoiling at the stale, returning as if etiquette requires at least one polite bite of every dish. It's not enough, the intern says, voice narrow with worry. They're cold in a way this thing can't fix. It eats potential, not leftovers. The tide of absence washes up around their ankles, curious, drawn again to the pulse in a wrist, to the warm panic. The monotone observes with unhelpful accuracy. It thinks you're a buffet with shoes. A warning sign flickers with the last of its static. If it was important, it wouldn't be on fire, the tired voice repeats, eyeing the one core that still has a red tag like a crime scene ribbon. J.I.M-BOT's lens narrows. Correction. That one still has a standby charge because someone was lazy with decommissioning. I am both appalled and, for once, grateful you all share a skill set. The invisible presence leans toward the red-tagged cylinder, and every hair on arms, mustache, and general soul tries to stand on end. Slow, the tired voice says, talking as if to a skittish animal and a bored god at the same time. We'll open a little, you take a little, we don't die. J.I.M-BOT hovers close, prim. I will supervise this terrible idea. The crowbar is replaced with a torque key. The red tag peels like an old scab, and a panel pops with a tremor that runs through the graveyard like gossip. The dark gathers. The world narrows. The taste of metal gets personal. The intern sways. I memorize the manual. Why is it not helping? Slips out, cresting into the edge of a sob. The invisible hunger tilts toward that noise like a flower to sun. At the last second, the tired voice tosses something shinier than fear. A drone-delivered memo still blinking with a passive-aggressive power cell that will literally outlast the heat death of the universe because someone in administration paid for the extended warranty. The entity pivots. The memo emits an imperious bing and a paragraph about budget compliance, and the hunger drinks it like fine wine. J.I.M-BOT sounds personally insulted. I've been telling you for years that bureaucracy is a form of dark energy. The intern's knees stop being theoretical, so we can feed it with memos. A shrug happens that could be mistaken for a nod. If we have enough memos, the sky considers this and delivers one by habit. A drone whizzes down valley and drops an envelope stamped for immediate non-action in violet ink. The invisible being pirouettes toward the new appetizer. Somewhere in headquarters, a middle manager with vindictive efficiency is saving lives without knowing it. Okay, the tired voice says, thinking in that slow, careful way that looks like not thinking at all. We need a controlled feed and a place that won't collapse when this thing gets full. The intern's hand shoots up at nothing. Idea, friendship circuit, a blank look. It's in subsection 19.3. It's a safe, slow drip power leash used for rehabilitating rogue toasters. We scale it up. J.I.M-BOT emits the exact sound a cat makes before knocking something off a shelf. Terrible. Risky. I like it. They assemble it from the ship's spare cabling, a sacrificial battery, and a roll of crime scene ribbon, because the manual states in bold letters that things tied in official tape behave better. The ribbon flutters with officious authority in the moon's non-wind. J.I.M-BOT overlays a metronome pulse, a heartbeat of light the invisible thing can sip without gulping a person. The entity tests the line, slurps a little charge, and flares in negative space so distinctly the absence looks almost affectionate, like a shadow petting a hand. Hi, the intern says softly, steadier now that a plan exists. You're not a bad guy. You're just on empty. A push of cold finds the palm that offered the ribbon. It is thank you shaped. The tired voice does not smile exactly, but the edges soften. Let's get you somewhere with fewer people to accidentally turn into unplugged furniture. The somewhere is a scrap ring tagged Dark Comet Recycling Zone, where dead warp coils and overambitious solar sails go to reflect on their choices. It takes a shuffle of memos and 2 drones to get the authorization beacon to flicker green. It takes the friendship circuit and the last 3 passive-aggressive notices about coffee filters to keep the entity politely tethered. On approach, the invisible thing rises and spreads, casting a wrongness shadow against the stars so big it feels like standing next to silence itself. They open a hatch and let the slow drip line thread through the dark. The entity drifts into the graveyard of machines with the happy gravity of a tide relaxing. It brushes the hull one last time. The exhausted little team waits, sharing a silence that is not empty, just finally quiet. The intern exhales a laugh that turns into a sob, and then into a laugh again. We did it. We rehomed a cosmic power vampire with office paperwork. The monotone concedes the barest of victories. I don't remember doing it, but I probably did. J.I.M-BOT. Magnanimous adds, my memory is perfect, unlike yours, Officer Zarg. On the way back, the ship's systems tick back to life, as if deciding to forgive. Lights return. Heat becomes a thing again, instead of a rumour. The coffee machine coughs in relief. A drone noses up to the viewport and smacks a memo against it that reads in cheerful venom, great job not dying. Please submit Form 88Y, unauthorized relocation of unknown entity, and Form 88. Why? Why did you do that? Promotions are a logistical error we are currently investigating. Paperwork's for planets that still exist, the tired voice repeats as if it's a lullaby. The intern is still vibrating with adrenaline. We should file anyway, for science, for the manual, for... The lights flicker. It is the slightest hiccup, like a hiccup in a story about hiccups. The coffee machine emits a gulping sound and then purrs in a way that implies someone else is also enjoying the brew. A soft cold brushes the back of a hand, not hungry now, just present. J.I.M-BOT swivels with aristocratic resignation. Diagnostic complete. You adopted it. The intern's eyes go wide with delighted terror. Is this illegal? A sigh that's almost a laugh. That sounds like future Zarg's problem. The ship hums, minus exactly 1 watt, where a small absence has chosen to live between the espresso pump and the sugar dispenser. The manual, for once, has no subsection for this. They head for the stars anyway, escorted by a new passenger that isn't a bad guy, wasn't misunderstood, and is now, unfortunately and officially, a friend.
Intergalactic Space Cops, the galaxy's